before I forget. Right. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. And as you arrive here to this room, Zoom room, perhaps take a moment just to register where your feet are at. So wriggle your toes. Maybe move your hands and your fingers and notice, what do you need to do to be just 1% more comfortable? Maybe it's just to sit back up and down again, maybe to slightly elongate your spine, or do you need a sip of water? What would help you arrive and be present a little bit more in this moment? And then I invite you to soften your gaze so that you're not distracted by the screen. And if you're comfortable to do so, you're welcome to close your eyes. And as you do so, cutting out the sensory input from your eyes, bring your eyesight, so to speak, inward. And I invite you to slowly scan your body from your head down towards your jaw and your neck, and just noticing there's nothing to fix, there's nothing to change, there's no right or wrong. Become aware of where your body is and how it feels in this moment. So scan down past your neck onto your shoulders, down your chest and your upper arms, past your elbows and your forearms, scanning down towards your waist and your pelvis, across your upper legs and your thighs, noticing the chair that's supporting the back of your legs if you're sitting. And bring your awareness over your knees, down your shins and your calves. And then bring your awareness to your feet, allowing your feet to feel a little heavier, sinking more into the floor. And then cast your attention towards your breath, so towards the sternum, where your heart is beating in the center of your chest. And if you can hear the little Yorkie in the background who's dreaming, her name is Poppet. She might be doing a scan through her body too. Notice your breath. Notice how it feels when you inhale, whether your chest lifts, whether you breathe deeply into your belly. Perhaps you could slow down your inhale a little, breathing a little deeper into your belly. And as you exhale, what would it be like if you released a little bit of tension that may be being held in your neck and your jaw, your shoulders, or your glutes? And with your attention inward, because today we'll be talking about self-esteem, I invite you to ask your subconscious to invite your self-esteem wherever it may sit in your body. It could be in your chest, it could be in your head, it could be in your left foot. But to invite your self-esteem to come and join us in this discussion, and trust that what you need to take from today is exactly what you'll take. And that perhaps if there is a particular issue or problem or challenge that you currently have with any aspect of your well-being, that from what we're going to share and discuss today, you'll be able to leave with one thing that could help you to build and integrate into your self-esteem in order to help you with that challenge. So in your own pace and time, I invite you to take 3 nourishing deep breaths. With each inhale, bringing energy and attention to your self-esteem. And with each exhale, letting go of tension or anything that you don't want to take into the next hour or so that we're spending together. And then one last deep breath in. And exhale. And then slowly wriggle your toes, gently bring movement to your neck and your shoulders, moving your fingers. And if your eyes are closed, to gently open them and let the light back in. Perhaps have a bit of a stretch. That might have been the first time you've stopped today mindfully. notice how this feels when you take a moment just to pause and connect with your body or your breath. And so welcome, and a very, very special welcome to Brooke Hender. Those of you that have been on the masterclasses before know that every month there's a different topic, a theme, that sometimes I invite special people who know a lot more about stuff than I do to come along so that collectively we can share in the wisdom, and know that when we invite for questions or sharing, that share what you're comfortable to. You will be sent the recording, and so you can access that. And if you have any questions, you can always be in touch with myself, and we'll share Brooke's details too, because he really is a deep well of wisdom when it comes to this topic. And yeah, on that note, as Tina arrives into the room and gets comfortable, Brooke is an integrative therapist who I always believe that if you really want to know what a person is about, don't listen to what they say about themselves. Look at what other people say about them. So I'll pop into the chat Brooke's website a bit later, but if you take a look at the testimonials, it gives you some idea as to why so many people want to sit and chat, and not just have one chat, but actually work over a few weeks and perhaps longer with Brooke, who's an incredibly practical, forward speaking. I mean, the one testimonial that struck me, I'm going to read it because I pasted it here. Yeah. Brooke delivers the tough love in a way that massively helps me to process my own gripes. So if you have any gripes, I know I do, and you know that tough love can sometimes help, I certainly believe that Brooke is the guy. So Brooke, welcome. I know by nature of us having a conversation and you sharing, we will get to know you better. I also know that you have asked me to relay to others that this doesn't need to be a monologue. I mean, Brooke has a lot to share. But please, if you have any questions, and if you don't want to interrupt, you can always pop them into the chat. I'm going to keep my eye there, and we'll have an opportunity to break out into breakout rooms and share some of what we're unpacking. And I will ask you at the end, as I always do, what is one thing that you're going to take, one insight that you can integrate from your head into your heart and then put into your hands into action that can potentially help you with an issue or a struggle or a challenge that you may have? I know that I'm going to certainly be able to do that. It might be difficult to choose just one thing. So welcome everybody and those that just joined us. And Brooke, I guess a good place to start might be, well, you saying hi and sharing what I think is the best definition of self-esteem that I've seen.
Thank you, Celine. It's always lovely to hear that you invite, special people along to your meetings every month. It's a shame that none were available this month, but I'm happy to stand in for them on this occasion. So that's lovely. Um, yeah. So the truth is, self-esteem is not the be-all of everything, but it plays a pretty fundamental part in our lives. So this is, when I talk about self-esteem, I'm not going to say just focusing on this and all your problems will disappear. It's important, but there are other areas that we need to focus on as well. So it's always difficult, and it's always important to understand what we mean by something. Now, when I say, or Celine says, self-esteem, what do we mean by that? Very simply, I define it as our relationship with ourselves. But smarter people who've done a lot more work than me, particularly a guy called Nathaniel Brandon, has a very nice definition. And I will put this in the chat as well. And he says, and I will read this slowly, not because I'm a bad reader, but I think it's just worth sort of letting it sink in. Self-esteem, fully realized, is the experience that we are appropriate to life and to the requirements of life. More specifically, self-esteem is one, confidence in our ability to think, confidence in our ability to cope with the basic challenges of life. Now, I will just point out the basic challenges of life. It doesn't say deal with everything that comes your way. The basic challenges of life. And secondly, self-esteem is confidence in our right to be successful and happy, the feeling of being worthy, deserving, entitled to assert our needs and wants, achieve our values, and enjoy the fruits of our efforts. And again, entitled to assert our needs and wants doesn't mean that we're going to get them or that we should expect to have them delivered. It's just entitlement to assert our needs and wants. So I think that's a really nice, all-encompassing definition.
Can you put that into the chat, Brooke? Because I've got an exercise that I'd like us to do when you wrap up your thought.
So there it is.
Thank you.
And also that there's a little bit on the bottom there that says there is a continuous feedback loop between our actions in the world and our self-esteem. The level of our self-esteem influences how we act, and how we act influences the level of our self-esteem. So there's a lovely relationship, and I think we all know the lovely infinity symbol. What's the actual term for that symbol, Celine? There is a name for it, but we'll just call it the infinity symbol. But what you do impacts on how you feel about yourself. How you feel about yourself impacts on what you do. And that is a part of that I'll come on to later.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm now curious about all three things, really. Firstly, what drew you to this topic? If there was something that drew you, or maybe you're just, you just love the masterclasses so much you show up regardless of what we're chatting about. I don't know. Thanks, Fab. But if there was something in particular that drew you to this topic, what was that or why? And then if you look at the definition, what part of the definition do you feel strongest in? Because there's different aspects of it, right? There's a bunch of ingredients in this beautiful tart. So which ingredient is your best, so to speak, the one that you're most proficient at? I mean, I can immediately see that with me, confidence is something that I feel would be strongest. However, one that I have more, and then thirdly, what aspects of the definition do you have a longing for more of? So for me, it's about being worthy and feeling enough. That's something I constantly work at. So I think in order to create a little bit of intimate conversations, let's have a quick breakout room where we discuss that. What drew you to the topic? From the definition, what do you feel that you connect with? Which aspect are you strongest in? And which do you feel that there might be a longing for more of? I don't want to say that you're weakest in. It's more something that you're just not yet strong in. And if anybody doesn't want to go into a breakout room or can't for whatever reason, you're welcome to stay right here with me and Brooke. And we'll discuss this for about 4 minutes. So after 4 minutes, I'll send the 1 minute to come back. Is everybody okay with that? Clear? Okay. Do you need to make any notes on the definition? Because we can broadcast it to you in the room, but with Zoom, the broadcasts don't stay up. So perhaps take an opportunity just to glance through that. And there we go. You should have a request to join a room. Fab, are you staying in the main room? Okay. I'm just making sure that there was one person left on their own. Okay, great. Brooke, thank you for that. I quickly thought I would do that just to get people to speak their voice, have their voice heard. And then, yeah, thank you.
But it gives Fabrice time to eat.
I know that he rushed from work, So thanks, Fab. Yeah. And then I'm just making sure that no one ends up on their own. Yeah. And I'll be right back. I'm just going to check that the little Yorkie is sleeping and not choking, because she's making a very strange sound. Yeah.
Go check that dogs are not dying. That's always a useful thing.
Is Poppet?
Oh, look at that.
No, very cute.
Shortages.
I think she's just frustrated because her parents aren't back yet, and I would have taken them outside if I'd known they were going to be an hour late. Right. Yeah. The joys, right? Yeah.
Look at her little black nose.
I always think they need a haircut. You know, whenever I look at them, they always look like they need a haircut at the front.
Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah. There's two of them, but her sister's a darling. This one is a little bit, yeah.
Less of a darling.
Very. Yeah, she's just special needs, I guess. Are you okay, my darling? Are you going to stop that? Okay. So another minute, and then I'll...
Your internet's holding up okay so far.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah, I'm grateful. Yeah, I couldn't be any closer to the modem than I am. That's why I'm wedged in this corner. Yeah. Bab, I'm just going to mute you because we can hear you.
Sorry.
Okay. I'll close. There we go. They've got 60 seconds to come back.
It'll be interesting to see what they come back with.
I thought that too.
It's quite a dense statement.
Yes. And if you ask me to tweak it, because I gave it thought when I went over it again, I couldn't. I think it's really good.
Yeah, no, it's I've tried to rewrite it, but yeah, I'd rather use a really nice definition and give it credit. So there's no point reinventing the wheel.
Welcome back to those of you that came back. I think we've still got about 20 seconds or so for the others to join. Yeah. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome. Is anybody happy to share what was shared in the room that was perhaps, yeah, thanks, Philip.
It just reminded me of a workshop I did in the very, very early days of NLP. And John Grinder and I worked together for a while, and he was on stage, and he talked to a friend of his in the way of introducing him by saying, I want you to introduce you to my esteemed friend. I've forgotten the guy's name now. And the guy came on and very cleverly with the NLP language said, in what way am I esteemed? And John, quick as a flash, said, because I esteem you. And it just reminded me of what you're talking about, Brooke, about self-esteem. Fundamentally, I esteem myself where I choose to do so.
Yeah.
And in the areas where I have lack of self-esteem, it's because I haven't told myself how I should or how I want to hold that aspect of my life. That just came to me when we were in the breakout, Jenny and I.
It's a nice reflection. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's always breaking down what these words actually mean to us. And it's especially with something like self-esteem, we hear that phrase so often. that it almost, in some respects, becomes meaningless. And that's why when I talk about it, I try and talk about the relationship we have with ourselves, because that really, for me, clarifies it in a sort of more useful way. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And was there any particular aspect that there was a similarity in where there was a longing for more of in terms of helping us work on this?
Who are you asking, Celine?
Open.
Oh,
Anybody
Yeah.
that will answer. Or not.
Or not.
So just, yeah, very quickly, I struggle with similarly the being worthy of or deserving of being valued. I think that's where I really would like to work at. The thing that I've never done quite enough to be good enough. That's where I'd like to strengthen my self-esteem.
Yeah.
And Philip and I were also talking about the mixture within ourselves. So I have huge self-esteem for business, but very, very low self-esteem with personal relationships. And Philip, exactly the same, but the other way around. So it was interesting how you have such a mixture within yourself.
Mm.
And that's really common. That is such a common thing. People say, when I'm at work, I absolutely have no problem getting my needs met. I'm happy to ask what I need. It's not a problem. When it comes to my personal relationships, it's the complete opposite.
So there's 3 of us in the room that are like that.
Right.
in a small collection. So
Yeah.
I definitely put my hands up. There may be one other.
Yeah. And
Ian, I saw you were going to say something.
Yeah, mine's, look, I'm a managing director of business, and I feel successful, and Michael and I were talking about it on the outside, but in both my professional and personal life and in my sporting life, because I love sport, I'm constantly seeking reassurance, and I've never really understood why. And I guess it's because it is this, for me, it's lack of self-esteem that I'm constantly needing feedback, and I don't understand it. And I guess that's what I'm trying to understand better. And I've certainly, I want to be able to help my children as well because I know 2 of them and have definitely got a lack of self-esteem, and I'm trying to get some personal nuggets on here, but also to be able to pass something on today. So
for me, I'm a very confident person with other people, but like in terms of my self-confidence, I'm not that confident, and I need to work on my self-esteem, because in school I'm very confident, and like with my friends I'm very chatty, and sometimes too much chatty, but I just need to work on my self-confidence, because and my self-esteem, because I think that's what's maybe making me, I don't know, I think it does affect like some of my lessons, and especially like specific types of lessons. So yeah.
Thank you, Yara. It's great to have you join us. I know that your dad might join a bit later. Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Well, Brooke,
yeah,
that is yours.
thank you. I will get back to some of these. You did ask me a question earlier, which I didn't conveniently ignore. You asked me sort of why I focus on this work. The reason why I've got such an interest in self-esteem is because that was my issue. And the thing about self-esteem is, it's very easy to think that people who struggle with self-esteem issues are shy or they're quiet. It's not that at all. You can have poor self-esteem and be very outgoing. You can appear to be very confident and still have low self-esteem. Now, I'm not saying I will make generalizations, and because I will make generalizations, they will be wrong. But certainly in my case, because I didn't think I was good enough, I didn't think I was, later on, I definitely didn't think I was worth loving, able to love in some respects. So I create very many years ago, I created a version of myself that I sent out to the world. I sent a version of myself out that was not me, but a more confident version of me, that did things that I couldn't do. So, and so I created this because I wasn't good enough, but Brooke can go out and he can be outrageous, he can do all these things, he can come across in a particular way, but that wasn't me. And so for a very long time there's a gap between who I was and who people thought I was. And when people, so my speciality was relationships. Basically I used to burn through relationships like they were going out of fashion. So I'd meet somebody, it would be amazing. Oh my God, this is amazing. This is the one. It'd be great. And in 6 months, or however long, people were getting closer and closer, and it'd be like, I love you. And then they're like, alarms started flashing. It's like, but they don't know me. They fall in love with that person, not me. And so I ended up I was so scared of them finding out who I really was that I would usually end the relationship, which is a great tactic when you want to be in a relationship. And that was the pattern of my life for a very long time, because I didn't think who I was good enough, not successful enough, not this enough, not that enough. And it was only when I started to do the work and to deal with that and to start accepting myself that I was able to go, this is who I am. And I'm all right with that. I'm definitely a work in progress, but I'm all right with that. And then I was able to let go of the patterns associated with it. It took a few years, though, for me.
And you've come up with some key ingredients that can help, right? Because I agree that it starts with awareness. And then I'm always into the doing bit of it. So what could we do to help that? And I know you've got like a really cool recipe, so to speak, that has helped you and your clients.
Yeah, so there is no one right way to deal with this. So, quite self-esteem is also quite mixed up. Often it's about comparison, comparing ourselves to others and finding ourselves wanting, comparing ourselves to the expectations of others and finding ourselves wanting, especially in business, imposter syndrome. I may be successful, but I really don't deserve it. I might have got here, but I don't know how. It's just luck. And once they find out, they're gonna get out of the office. So there's lots of elements to it. I'm not saying there is just one set of ingredients for that make up everything. Yes, there are things we can do about it, but I do want to look at self-esteem is not a thing. It's not a thing you can buy on Amazon. It's not something you can lose as you're on your way to Co-op. Other shops are available. It just happens to be my nearest. It's not a thing, and it's not something you have or you do not have. I encourage people to think about their self-esteem in the same way as you think about your immune system. Having a strong and healthy immune system does not stop you getting sick. But when you do get sick, having a strong and healthy immune system does help you to deal with it as effectively as you can at that point. And it's the same with self-esteem. Having good self-esteem doesn't stop you struggling. It doesn't mean that bad stuff isn't going to happen, but it does mean that you're more likely to deal with whatever comes your way in a more helpful way. Not always. Because sometimes, let's be honest, life is shit. It just is, isn't it? People get ill, people die, loads of things. It's called being. It's human. It's called life.
There's penalties. There's riots. You can see what's going on in my mind.
Did somebody mention penalties? I don't know. I think there was a glitch in Zoom. Because otherwise, I'd have to say, something about South African football team, and we don't want to go down that road.
A yellow card now.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there are elements that make up our self-esteem. So, again, this is Nathaniel Brandon's work, and again, I think I haven't it's very simple, and I will put this in the chat. So when you were in the breakout rooms and you were, sort of pulling apart the definitions, there are 6 strands that go into what I call is helpful with regards to self-esteem. So the first one is living consciously. To live consciously means to be aware of yourself and your actions. It's about not drifting through life. So that's one element. The second element is self-responsibility. Being responsible for your choices, for your decisions and your actions. The third one is personal integrity. This is about having ideals, having standards, having beliefs, and following them at all times. The fourth one is living with purpose or purposefully. It's being intentional about what you want and then working towards achieving it. And the fifth one, which is the one that most people sort of go, oh yeah. Self-assertiveness. Standing up and speaking up for yourself. Because if you don't stand up for yourself, who will? I keep asking my mum, but she just won't help. And the last one, and again, this is really critical. They're all important, but this one resonates. Practice self-acceptance. Accept and take ownership of yourself.
Could you give an example of that one, please, Brooke?
Yeah. It's just about being able to look at yourself and go, who I am is good enough. Who I am right now, with all my flaws, mistakes, everything, who I am is deserving of love, it goes back to that definition. It's about accepting who you are and where you are right now. And sometimes people say, yeah, but if I accept who I am, then I'm never going to improve. And that's not true. It's not saying settle. You can accept yourself and go, yeah, I'm not very good at this. Actually, I do have a problem with this. Or, yeah, I eat too much, or I don't exercise enough, or I'm not very good at relationships. It's about accepting that and going, okay, this is who I am right now. This is who I am, and that's okay.
Because the opposite of that, so the opposite of that, if we don't accept, I don't know if this is different for anybody else, but for me, that's a form of resistance. And Michael knows what happens with resistance, right? What we resist persists. So we create and we drain energy potentially that we could be taking into other parts of our lives. So, and for me, acceptance, Michael, it doesn't mean that I approve. It's very different. So you can I don't approve of what's happening around my family and my friends right now in South Africa, in Johannesburg and KZN, but I mean, I don't approve of it, but I accept that it is what it is. There's a reality there, and I know some people who are not, and you can just see it's causing resistance, makes it more difficult. Maybe that's not the best example because it's outside the context of self-esteem. But if I know, for instance, with myself that if my time is wasted, that can be a red flag for me. It's like a trigger. So rather than fight that, work with that, make sure I'm always on time, be punctual, understand how my routine works for me. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, a useful thing I've noticed about myself, when I start predicating about an aspect of my life, i.e., when I'm X, then I'll be Y. When I'm X, then I'll get Y. When I'm doing that, I'm not accepting myself. And normally it's based on something external to myself. And I'm always looking for the internal to go, okay, look, I don't believe, so therapists like to say this, I disagree with them. Therapists like to say, you have all the resources you need already. No, you don't. you have a lot of resource, but you might not have all the resource. And, you know, that's why you work with people. That's why you learn stuff. You can get the resource. You may not have the knowledge to be able to get to the next place you need to be. But you have the ability to reach out and get that resource that you need. So I think when you say, you know, you have all the resources you need already, I think it's like, so it's another way of beating yourself up. Well, okay, I've got all the resources and I'm still not doing it. So I don't like anything. It's very easy to pick up something and use it as a stick to beat ourselves up with. They're lying all over the place. You can pick up any of them. Height, weight, colour, where you were born, accent, you name it. Start comparing yourselves to others, you'll be finding sticks left, right and centre. Oh, I don't have as many followers on Instagram as that therapist. You know, oh, I'm now 54 and I've got a bit of a dodgy beard with too much white in it. You know, it's an endless game and it's just not helpful. Yeah. So anyway, getting back to the point, what can you do about it? I'm a big believer in, is it common sense? I don't know. There are no secrets in therapy. And any therapist that tells you there are secrets is probably also going to try and sell you a 6-figure coaching package at the same time. There are no secrets in therapy. It doesn't matter what approach you go for. If you think it's going to work for you, it's likely to work for you. But there are a number of things that seem, when you hear them, you will probably go, well, that's really obvious. Yes. And that's why I want to remind you of them. So I wrote a book, a very short book, deliberately short, called The 7 Steps to Better Self-Esteem. It's available on Amazon for the one-off price, special introductory price for you for £79.99. No, it's free. It's a completely free ebook. It's less than 10 pages because
Very well written. It's very good. It's concise.
You know, in my experience, people don't read long books. Not really. They like the idea of them, but they go, "Oh, I've got this great free book. Oh, I'm not reading that." So I wanted to make it very easy and clear. So I'm just going to share the main headlines. I mean, that's half the book, to be honest. So these earlier on, I said there's a relationship between the actions you take and how you feel about yourself, and how you feel about yourself and the actions you take. So on this part and this part only, I'm focusing on the actions you can take, the things you can do yourself, not relying on anybody else. So number 1, do something different. That's it. There's no, if what you're doing isn't working, do something different, because it's not working. People are like, really? Did he just say that?
And perhaps as Brooke goes through these, I know when I read them for the first time, reflect on a particular challenge or issue that you may have, so that it doesn't just become this ethereal generic concept of do something different. If you relate it to a particular challenge, maybe that at the start when I did the little check-in, that maybe something came up for you, or if there's anything right now that you'd like to do or to be different, use that as maybe a bit of an anchor as Brooke works through some ideas, because then it can really become something tangible that you can put into practice.
Yeah.
Because common knowledge isn't common practice.
No, absolutely. You know, I still use these to remind myself we've all had that thing, you know, definition of madness is doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different outcome. It's exactly the same. If what you're doing isn't working, do something different. Now, a lot of people then immediately come back to me and go, that's all very well and good, Brooke, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to stay right here, thank you very much, with my problem. Because problems are generally about a lack of movement. We might touch on that later, but you know, generally we feel stuck. So it's a lack of movement. So you go, I don't know what to do instead. And I always say, nor do I. So try something and then see whether that works. See whether that works. So that's number one. Number two, hope is not a strategy. Now, don't get me wrong, hope is a great quality. We all need a bit of, hope is lovely. It's not a strategy. Oh, I hope I wake up 2 stone lighter tomorrow. Oh, I hope I meet the man/woman/non-binary/identify, of my dreams tomorrow. I hope I get that promotion. I hope England win on penalties. It doesn't matter what it is. Hope is important, but it's not a strategy. It doesn't actually change anything on its own. So yeah, and if you are using hope as a strategy, please keep in touch and let me know how that works out for you. I'd really love to hear how that works out for you. Look, I'd really like to be wrong. I would love to go to bed and go, you know what? I really hope tomorrow morning I've won the lottery. I probably should play the lottery, but anyway. Number 3. This is so obvious, and yet this is the one that actually most people don't do. So I run a fortnightly meetup group, and usually at the beginning I will say to the people who are assembled there are 2 types of people. And there are people who take action and people who don't, and most of you here tonight won't. So step 3 is take action. Most people don't do anything. Most people go, oh, you know what? I'm going to buy a book on self-esteem. And they open the book and they go, God, this is great. Look at all, oh yeah. And then they turn the page and it says, exercises. And they go, ooh, questions. I'm going to have to sit down and write answers. You know what? I'll mark that page and I'll come back to it. And they don't go back to it. They don't do what is required. So step 3 is take action. Because most people want to change. I guarantee that every one of us here wants to change. Michael wants to change location, for example. And the idea of change is lovely, but a lot of people want change to sort of happen to them. That's why hypnotherapy is so appealing. It's like, I trained as a hypnotherapist, and people say to me, so do you just like put me under and then do some stuff and then I wake up and the problem's gone? It's like, no, that's not how it works. That would be lovely, but that's not how it works. Therapy is not something that happens to you. It's something you participate in. Yeah, you have to do the work. You have to take action. Number 4, you choose who you are. And you do that by the choices you make every single day. And so, for example, if you get up and you go running, irrespective of the distance, 5 times a week, you're a runner. If you get up and, let's say, I don't know, every day you write a page of whatever it is, your novel or a journal or your blog, then you're a writer. If you're a person who eats a packet of Jaffa cakes every day, then you're a person who eats a packet of Jaffa cakes every day. You choose who you are by the things you do, the actions you take. So if you don't write, you're not a writer. It's really obvious, but if you want to be different, you have to take action, and then you have to keep doing it. It's not do it once. It's like, oh yeah, I tried being different. I did it on Thursday morning. Didn't work out for me, so I'm going back to where I was. It's like, yeah, I just, it's uncomfortable where I am, but I'm used to it. So yeah, that's why we call it the comfort zone. It's comfortable. Who wants to leave the comfort zone? It's uncomfortable. So you choose who you are by, it is your repeated actions that determine how you identify yourself. Oh, and on the ebook, this is a spoiler, but yeah, you are the choices you make. Um, but also, I've added, don't be an arsehole. Because that is one really helpful choice to make. Don't be an arsehole to others, but more importantly, don't be an arsehole to yourself. Really, don't be an arsehole to yourself. It's really easy. Step 5, change what you can change. Because the truth is, a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to change things that they cannot change. For example, a lot of people spend a lot of time worrying about what other people think about them. And the truth is that there ain't much you can do about it. As I said, typically I run my meetup group every 2 weeks. I get between, typically I get between 15 and 25 people. And I can guarantee that in that group of people, there will be one or two who go, "Ah, I really like him. He's really lovely. He's great. I think his meetings are fantastic." There'll be one or two going, "Ah, this guy, what an arsehole. Who does he think he is? I'm never coming back to this meeting. What a loser." And the truth is, the others just don't care. They're completely ambivalent. Most people are going, "Oh yeah, that's interesting. Oh, I wonder if I'm going to have the pizza or that leftover curry later. Yeah. Oh, I wonder what's going on. Oh man, I should probably go for a swim in the morning." That's what most people do in meetings. You're probably doing it yourselves now. You're probably going, "Oh yeah, that's all very well and good. I wonder how long is this going on for. God, I wonder what that background's about. Oh, I don't know." Because that's what most people do. And because that happens all the time, you don't need to worry about it. And you can't, and also don't try and make people like you. It's just creepy. It doesn't work either. The circumstances you were born into are completely out of your control. Where you were born, when you were born, who your parents are, your socio-economic situation, all those things are completely out of your control. They're not your fault. Good luck trying to change them as well. Don't just accept who you are, because you can't change those things. It's like beating your head against a brick wall, to use a metaphor. Step 6. Accept responsibility and take ownership. I would imagine, well, in my experience as working as a professional therapist over the last few years, I've come across a lot of pretty shit stuff. And it's not their fault. Bad stuff happens to good people. And a lot of stuff happens when we're young, and it wasn't your fault. But you're the one dealing with the impact of it now. Irrespective of how it happened, you're the one that has the problem now. You're the one with the consequence. You're the one with the unhelpful narrative. And this is not the same as taking the blame. So accepting responsibility and taking ownership gives you power. Accepting the blame is not what it's about. It's not your fault, but by going, you know what, it wasn't my fault, but I'm going to own this, and therefore I'm going to do something about it. It's really important, that bit about not taking blame. But by accepting responsibility for your life and taking ownership of the situation, you empower yourself to go, yeah, it wasn't my fault, but I'm not going to let this continue. I'm not going to let this mean that I can't have good relationships. I'm not going to let this mean that I don't write that novel. I'm not going to let this mean I'm not going to get that promotion at work. No one is coming to save you. Sorry. No one is coming to save you. I'm not. Celine's not. She might for a huge amount of money, I don't know. But in fact, for a huge amount of money, I might. But the truth is, no one's coming to save you. You're on your own. There's no knight in shining armor gonna, don't worry, I'll sort your problems out. No, it's your job. Step 7. Don't do it alone. See, that was the thing I used to do. I used to believe that I should and could do everything myself. I still believe it to a degree. I'm much better at that. Because I used to believe that if I weren't able to sort it out myself, that somehow that was weak. That I should be strong enough to be able to deal with this stuff myself. Even though I've got no training, even though I've got no knowledge, I should somehow mystically, miraculously know how to solve all these things. You know, it's like opening up the bonnet of a car and going, yeah, it's the engine-y thing. You know, it's like, unless you understand how engines work, you're not going to be able to fix that engine. You know, if you want to improve your, you know, how many of you have got personal trainers or have, you know, if quite often we'll go, I don't know how to do this, I'll pay for that person to help me. Or, oh, I've got a car accident, I've broken my leg. How many of you, if you've broken your leg, go, you know what, I'll just stay at home, I'll put a bit of tape around it, it'll be fine. We don't. We go, oh, I'll go to hospital, I'll work with professionals. And I'm not saying rush out and work with a therapist. You don't have to work with a therapist. You just choose the person or people that have skills that you can use to help you to deal with your stuff. And of course, you know, if they don't get you the results you want, then try something else. Because if what you're doing isn't working, do something else. Or, of course, and you'll be glad to hear this is the last sentence, you could hope that just something else changes. So those are 7 really obvious. I did tell you they were obvious, but 7 really clear things that you can do.
Thank you, Brooke. And if these are so obvious, then everybody's doing them, right? On a consistent basis. I sense that this might be a good opportunity to pause and have a little chat in another breakthrough room session. Is there a particular question that you could guide us into, Brooke?
Having heard all those things, again, this is not about blame or anything like that. Just, you know, looking at your own life and your situation currently, when you think of those 7 steps, what is the one that you know that you resist the most? Because there's always one that we go, oh, I really don't like the idea of that. There might be more than one. But, you know, let's be kind. There's one that, you know, you go, oh, I really don't like that one. It could be sort of reaching out, you know, somebody else, working with somebody else. You might not, that might be the biggest struggle we have. Or it might be, you know, that hope is a strategy for you. And that's been a strategy for a long time. So just, you know, it doesn't have to be you know, just think about the seven steps and just see which ones work for you or don't.
All right, so we'll do another 4 to 5 minute chat around that. Let me reshuffle the rooms. There we go. You should have a request to join a room. And once again, if you prefer to stay here in the main room with us, you can always do that. Brooke, are you able to put those 6, the 7 into the chat?
Yeah.
I typed them as you said them, and then I'll broadcast them as well.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Absolutely. I will also put in the chat the link to the book itself.
Thank you. That'll be great. I'm just checking that everybody's all right. Philip and Wendy are together. Michael, are you good?
I thought you've been one of our best guest speakers.
Oh, thank you.
I think you've been awesome.
Oh, thank you, Michael.
Kind of thing. Have you got other sort of stuff that you've got on YouTube and stuff like that? Or
yeah, I've got a YouTube channel. If you just type in Brooke Hender on YouTube, I've actually got there's 9 videos, which is like an intro and a summary, plus the 7 steps, and altogether they're less than half an hour.
Could you put that into the chat so I can
Yeah.
broadcast it to the groups?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, Michael, just pause that. Are you staying here in the main room, Michael?
I was just going to annoy him for a bit longer, if that's all right.
You're absolutely, once he's done his job. I'm being
Yeah.
assertive, you know?
I'm scared of you as well, Celine. No matter. Yeah.
Who isn't? I mean, let's be
The
honest.
The Yorkies are not scared. When I'm going to tell them to do things, they look at me with those big brown eyes. Thank you.
Yeah. Normally I have it to hand, but so there's a link to the channel.
And the 7 steps, have you got them as a summary?
Yeah. I'm just trying to find the playlist for those.
Or do you have them? Or actually, I mean, I just thought in case it might help people in the room to remember what they were. But maybe
as a summary, yeah.
I was just going to do a broadcast to everybody.
So that is the playlist for the 7 steps, and I'm not sure. Do I have them? Let me have a look.
Actually, don't worry about it because
Yeah, no, I don't have those.
That's fine. Michael, go ahead. Spotlight's on you.
Do you have other keynotes? Because I bet you could be really provoking, can't you, in a funny way as well?
Yeah.
Do you have other keynotes as well that you do?
So I run my sort of fortnightly meetup group on self-esteem, and yeah, that's about it really. Yeah, I'm not sort of annoying people in person. I'm not annoying people. I am looking to get back out there and do that though.
What, did you do it in the past and then sort of got back on your horse?
Well, I did. I ran the meetups in person, and then of course, the whole COVID-19 thing. So I moved completely online. So yeah, it's been and generally I guest. So generally I do a lot of guesting on people's stuff. I also do a lot of online networking, and I tend to do talking on that as well. Because the other area I'm interested in, which I touched on, is metaphor work. Because when we talk about feeling stuck, and most people with problems do feel stuck in some way, there's a lack of movement, and it's how we represent that lack of movement. So some people just feel like they're going nowhere. They just feel stuck. They want to move forward with their life, but they feel like they keep hitting their head against a brick wall, or they're feeling depressed or feeling down, or keep going around in circles, living life on edge.
I think, Brooke, I'd love you. Actually, that's one of the questions I wrote, because I know that's quite something for people to think about. Like the language we use gives us clues about this.
Absolutely. I'm happy to do a very quick talk about that as well.
Is there a pricing structure to your meetups with the self-esteem thing?
The meetups are free.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
When are they, Brooke?
So they're every 2 weeks. So the last one was last night. So they're on a Tuesday at 7 p.m. UK time. And I try to make them different. Obviously, I've got people coming and going, so some stuff will be repeated. But generally, it's an exploration. Depends on how interactive people are as to, what the evening's like. But it's just an hour. I try not to monologue too much.
And you're a full-time therapist as well?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think you're really good. And I definitely think you could provoke, and you're really funny as well.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what my mum tells me as well.
No, I meant this one, so I'm not just on the head.
No, but the thing is, the way I work is, I call myself, as I said, an integrative or integrative therapist, is because I don't think there is one approach that works for everybody, and I like to work in a very conversational way because, how are you maintaining your problem? What do you believe right now that keeps that problem in place, and challenging that in a way that's very conversational, but can be very funny. you know, I quite often will advocate for a problem, encourage people to do more of it. You know, I did have a situation where, you know, I was working with somebody and they said to me, "So what's the problem?" And I said, "Oh, it's embarrassing." I said, "So what's your embarrassing problem?" They went, "I'm constipated." This is true. I'm not making this up for effect.
I love the embarrassing. Yeah. So what's your embarrassing problem? I love that as a
exactly.
question.
And they said to me, "I'm constipated," and I went, "Okay." They said, "Not all the time, but a lot of the time." I said, "Now look, I wouldn't say this, but some people might say you're full of shit." And I wouldn't say this, but it's quite clear that you like to hold on to things. You keep you like to keep things to yourself. Now,
That might be worthwhile repeating because the rooms are going to close in a minute.
okay.
And then Brooke, will you be able to wrap up by 20 past?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to be, yeah.
I could wrap up now if you like.
No, I think we can go a little bit more.
At least I know this one's 90 minutes. I actually gave a talk at an Institute of Bookkeepers, and normally when people invite me for a talk, it's like 15 or 20 minutes. And I couldn't get into the meeting until the whole meeting was there, and there was about 30 people. And they said, "Oh, welcome, welcome. Sorry you couldn't get in," and everything. And I went, "That's no problem." I said, "So, when would you like me to speak?" And they went, "Now." I went, "Oh, okay. How long have I got?" 90 minutes. I was like, "Okay then." Not quite what I expected, but let's give it a go. Let's see where it lands.
I always think it's a good sign when I close the rooms and no one comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it means there must be some rich conversation happening.
Thanks for letting us pester you, Brooke.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm hugely curious and I love finding out about people, so it's good.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Nobody came back early, so I'm making an assumption that there was some rich conversation going on.
They didn't want to come back.
Is anybody happy to share reflection or an insight that was shared without perhaps naming the person or the circumstance, but whatever you're comfortable with sharing?
Don't do it alone came up in our room quite a lot. You know, talk to people, get some help.
It seems so obvious, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems so obvious, and yet, I don't know, a lot of people, we just don't do it.
And I think especially now more than ever, Jenny, especially, I mean, when I look across the room and I know most of you personally, we tend to be a profile of we've got to have it all together and other people look up to us and we role model. And yeah, there's a lot of strength in being vulnerable and admitting that you're not okay when you're not okay and reaching out and not trying to fix it all yourself. Anybody else have a different point that came up as something? Yeah, Philip.
Yeah, Wendy and I talked about baby steps. I think sometimes when I want to bring about change, it can feel huge. And breaking it down into little things I can do, and then sharing it with friends so that the don't do it alone also becomes kind of, will you be my accountable buddy on this? And then coming up with little things I can do to remind myself, like setting an alarm in my phone every day or putting a post-it in my diary and moving it every day, and until the baby steps become established as a new routine and the fear of not doing it becomes stronger than the fear of starting it. So a combination of things. The other thing that came up is number 5, change what you can change. Also came to me, change what I really want to change and tell the truth to myself about what I can't really be bothered to do.
Yeah.
Would I like a big house? Yeah, but am I prepared to pay for it now? No. Okay, we'll cross it off the list then. You know,
yeah.
What you really want, and what can't you be really bothered to change, and therefore can you live with stuff that you don't particularly like, but you're prepared to just live with because you're not prepared to change it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, saying yes to something means you're saying no to something else. And likewise, the other way around. And that's okay, because we can't say yes to everything. Or can we? I don't know.
Well, you
Maybe
can say
that's
yes, it doesn't mean you're going to get everything, does it? I mean, and that's the thing. I don't know how long we've got. I don't know how long I've got left. I ride a motorbike, for God's sake. I might have a week. I mean, who knows? And that's the thing. It's like, what is important to me? And it always comes down to values. It always comes down to values. What are our values? And accepting ourselves is also about accepting, discovering what our values are, and then honoring those values. Because again, it's us. This is our life. As far as I'm aware, this is it. I personally don't believe in past lives. Based on this one, I'll just stick with this one, thanks. I mean, I don't know what's afterwards, but I'm assuming that once I'm done, I'm done. This is my moment. So I don't know how long I've got left. So yeah, it's up to me to try and to live it the best way I can. Being a human being, making mistakes, and accepting myself for that.
And Brooke, when we were chatting before, and then today again with Michael a moment ago, we touched on the topic of metaphors and how language gives us so many clues. And around this particular topic, around taking, to Philip's point, baby steps, and feeling good, by the way, while you're doing it, because we change most when we feel good, not bad.
Yeah.
So it's important to feel good about the baby steps. And then that gives you the dopamine, the positive reinforcement, rewires the neural circuits. And then that can help. With the metaphors, I mean, you've done a lot of metaphor work.
Yeah. Just on obviously there are lots of strategies you can put in place. I mean, one of the best books I've ever, and I always recommend it, and you probably already know it, is Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yeah.
Atomic Habits by James Clear, no matter what is going on, is just a very, very good book. But it also really, it really just lays everything out much better than I could in terms of what you can actually do. Very quickly, I've got a blocker, I've got a Mac, and I've got a blocker because I've got no willpower. I will look at amazon.co.uk millions of times a day, or The Guardian. So from 9 till 5, I can't get those websites. I just block them. And I block virtually every website during my working day because I've got no willpower. So why try and test myself? Just block them. That's why I don't buy chocolate bars. If you give me a chocolate bar, I will eat it. So I don't buy chocolate. And it's not about, my girlfriend is amazing. This is a digression, by the way, but my girlfriend, she buys a big bar of like dark chocolate every week. And then at lunchtime, she breaks off 2 bits, puts it on her plate and goes off and has a lunch and doesn't touch the chocolate until next day at lunchtime, she breaks off 2 more bits. And at the end of the week, she has chocolate left over. This is devilry. What sort of witchcraft is that? It's not possible to have a chocolate bar and not eat it all. Anyway, I do digress. Metaphors. Be aware of your language. People dismiss metaphors as that, it's just an expression. It's just, But metaphors are your representation of what's actually going on in your life. If you feel stuck, that's how it feels. Life feels like a real uphill struggle. That's what it feels like. I'm going around in circles. I'm feeling depressed. I'm in a depression. I've got my back against the wall. Yeah, I've got my back against the wall. I'm holding myself back. I feel like I've been stabbed in the back. Chris has got his finger up.
Brooke, can I ask you both what on that theme? What's your view on self-talk?
Well, I would say it's not helpful. I just think it's not helpful. I don't believe
self-talk, right, Brooke? I mean,
sorry.
Can't we differentiate between what type of self-talk?
Yeah, of course. I'm assuming negative self-talk, but again, this is going to be down to the sort of person you are. It's like affirmations, like sticking things on mirrors. Now, for some people, affirmations are like the best thing ever. For other people, they're just like post-it notes stuck on the bloody bathroom mirror. They don't make any difference. It's not. There is no one right technique. You've got to try stuff and go, what works for me. But negative self-talk is, in my experience, is just generally very unhelpful. Don't do it. And it's again, it's about acceptance, and it's just noticing. If you start going talking to yourself, going, "Oh, you loser! I can't believe you've just eaten another packet of biscuits at 6 o'clock in the morning." It's like, you know, chocolate chip, the nice ones, and you know, and oh, you're such a loser. No wonder you're overweight. Nobody loves you. Nobody's ever gonna love you. Well, in my book, that's not likely to be helpful. Because it's just not. You wouldn't talk to anybody else like that. And you wouldn't like it if somebody else talked to you like that. Don't talk to yourself like that. And again, for some people, positive, how do you stop it? Oh, I'll answer that in a minute, if I knew. You know, positive self-talk can be really, really helpful for some people. Again, trial and error. How do you stop it? By noticing it. That's the first thing, is just noticing it. How you individually stop it, well, that's going to be a process you're going to have to explore. I tend to go, if I do sometimes find myself, I come across myself being negative, I have a particular way of dealing with it, which is just going, oh, fuck off. That's how I deal with it personally. No, really, that's how I deal with it.
Brooke, I love it. Because what I use, because this is something, Chris, such a great question. And in the last month, I have specifically, my personal project plan at the moment is to notice my own thoughts and what I say, without judgment, without right or wrong, just notice initially. And when I catch myself saying something that isn't really nice, or that I wouldn't say to my best friend or anybody here on the call, Brooke, you say what? Oh, fuck off.
Yeah,
I might try that, because at the moment I'm going, oh, isn't that interesting? So if you'd like a more elegant way to approach it, I'm saying that, isn't that interesting?
I think noticing is the most important thing, and you will forget. You will forget. And it's like all these things, is don't beat yourself up for forgetting. Just go, oh, okay, I'm doing that negative self-talk thing again. Okay. And then you'll pick it up for a little while, and then you'll forget, and then you go, oh, it's a process. It's a process. Like everything, it's a process. You are the you are the choices you make. And it is about persistence. Okay. And you will get it wrong, because we all get it wrong. And that's okay. That's part of acceptance. So, yeah, coming back to metaphors, English language is really, really rich, and we're very lucky, I think, particularly in English. Most people, not everybody, but most people, when we think about the future, they think about the future being ahead of them. I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward to something. I've put that behind me. I don't know what the right thing is for me, but if I don't do what's right for me, I have to do what's left for me. Now, those are very simple. We also have what's left ahead for us and what's right ahead for us. We've also got what we've left behind and what's right behind us. So we have all these lovely things, what we're standing on and what's above us. Now, in metaphor work, you explore all of these things. So when I ask people, so what's it like? They'll go, oh, well, I just feel like I'm going around in circles. So quite clearly you're spending a lot of time and energy, but you're getting nowhere. And then you can explore your metaphoric world to see what movement you have, because problems are about a lack of movement. Oh, I want to move forward in my life, but I keep feeling like I'm hitting my head against a brick wall. That's surprisingly common. Now, a brick wall in metaphor work represents rules. And interestingly, if you're using your head, I keep hitting my head against a brick wall. It's just you're trying to intellectualize it. You're trying to use your head to make a breakthrough. That's very painful. It's very painful. And just to let you know, if you've got an uphill struggle, moving uphill is all about acquiring status. Because you want to be grounded. You want your work to acquire status. You want to remain grounded. So if life is an uphill struggle for you, that's about achieving status. Because once you're uphill, you'll be looking down on people. And you'll be expecting them to look up to you. That's the most unpopular aspect of metaphor work I've ever come across. People go, I never look down on people. But you might be living on edge. Life might feel like life's a stage for you. There's an endless variety of stuff. But metaphor exploration is very useful. But on a very simple level, when you think about your problem, what's that like?
Mm.
You know, is it like walking a tightrope? Oh, I feel like I'm tiptoeing through a minefield. You know, quite often, I don't know if you've got had people in your life where they expect you to behave in a certain way so that they can be comfortable, and you have to tiptoe around them, or it's like treading on eggshells. That's quite, you know, that's quite common. I had an aunt that was like that, and if you didn't behave the way, go, look what you made me do. I told you. They expect you to behave in a certain way so that they can feel a particular way. And on some level, that's quite common because we get triggered by people. I'd have been fine if I weren't triggered by that person. But that's a completely different workshop. That's a completely different workshop. We're not going to that now because I've got to wrap it up. It's 20 past. I've had my orders. Nobody disobeys Celine. Certainly not me.
2 more minutes if you need them.
No, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay. Thank you, Brooke. Before I ask you what your biggest insight is, or what you're going to do differently based on this conversation and your investment of energy and time and focus and attention, does anybody have any questions? Even if we don't get to answer them fully now, they can maybe provoke or inspire content for another masterclass or another interview or something for Brooke. Because in the chat, we've shared a link to, he's got some great videos. I've watched those 9 ones that you did recently, or was it 10? Are great, short and succinct. So those links are in the chat if you want to save them. But has anybody got any questions or comments?
Or praise. I'm happy for endless amounts of praise. It's not a problem. Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
And if there aren't questions, what has been your greatest insight, and or what are you going to do differently? And if you don't know that answer right now, I've got a song that I'd like to play that is about 3.5 minutes long, and perhaps you'll have more insight after the song. So I'm using the music as a way to help us to tap into our emotion and our hearts. But right now, is there anything that you'd like to share around an insight or an action that you're thinking of taking? Jenny, go for it. Yeah.
First of all, can I just say, Brooke, just giving lots of praise because that was really fascinating. I feel like this could, you know, some of these techniques could change me, I hope. Or not change me because I am who I am, but make me accept and change my actions.
Yeah.
I think 2 really strong ones resonated with me. One is one of your points in you choose who you are, you know, so I will think about who I am and who I am and who I want to be when I start eating biscuits.
Yeah.
You know, do I want to be that fat person, or do I want to be a slim person? And to be a slim person, I need to stop eating the biscuits. And the other thing was the negative thoughts and just telling them to fuck off. Because, yeah, I have a lot of negative thoughts about myself. I beat myself up a lot. And I need to stop doing that because it's not healthy. So they're my actions. And thank you, Brooke.
Cool, my pleasure. Yeah, the thing is, and also, you know, you can still like and accept yourself even though you eat biscuits. Do you know what I mean? It's not, you're not worth more or less. It's like, yeah, okay, I eat biscuits. Look, I've got trust issues, and I'll probably have trust issues to the day I die. But you know what? They're a lot better than they used to be. I'm not trying to aim to get a clean slate to be this perfect person. It's like, this is Brooke Hender. He's flawed, and I'm all right with that. And that's part of the acceptance process. I will work to improve it, but, you know, work in progress, all of us.
Wendy, sure.
I'd just like to echo everything Jenny said and to say thank you very much, Brooke. But the one that I wrote down amongst all of the others is something Celine said, which is accept doesn't mean approve. And I always felt that if I accepted myself, that was as good as it got, that I approved of it. But it's actually not. It's just saying this is where I am, but it's not where I want to be forever. So, yeah. And the baby steps, I think, is the other thing, which I'll take away.
Great. So basically, the 2 takeaways you've got came from other people. Oh my God.
But I wouldn't have said that if I wasn't inspired by you. So.
And laugh at yourself. I always think, laughing
Yeah.
at yourself is one of the most important things you can do. Like, I take my work hugely seriously, but I just don't take myself seriously. That's the thing. I love what I do, and I'm absolutely, completely 100% professional in what I do, but I don't take myself seriously. I like to have fun with the subject, because I think when we start laughing at ourselves, we're in a better position.
The one thing you said, hope is not a strategy, probably rang the most true. So
1 in, 1 out of 3. Yes. It's like an England penalty taker.
You said the P word. And on that note, the P word for me is pause. And we started off with acknowledging that we're not just a brain, we're actually connected to a heart and a body. So let's take a few moments to end on that note. And then I'll share when we can next meet, and maybe Brooke, you can get your details ready to share, although your website has everything that I think we need to reach you. I'm going to play a song that for me embodies what we're speaking about, that we are enough, actually, and it's okay to not feel enough too. And so perhaps gift yourself the opportunity to take your eyes off the screen, and if you're comfortable, you're welcome to close your eyes, and you may recognize the voice of Alanis Morissette.
That I would be good, even if I did nothing. That I would be good, even if I got the thumbs down. That I would be good if I got and stayed sick. That I would be good even if I gained 10 pounds. That I would be fine even if I went bankrupt. That I would be good if I lost my hair and my youth. That I would be great if I was no longer queen. That I would be grand if I lost not all knowing. That I would be loud even when I know myself. That I would be good even when I am overwhelmed. That I would be loved even when I must feel made. That I would be good even if I was clay. I would be good.
So that song was played to me by one of my 2 therapists that I've worked with over 7 years on a deep transformative weekend of accepting that I am enough. And it's a song I go to many times when I need the reminding. And yeah, we need the reminding. We can't do this alone. So thank you for being here and being part of this collective. And Brooke, thank you. Thank you for your wisdom. The next masterclass will be for those of you that are actively involved in the Wellbeing Clubhouse. in August, because it's the summer holidays, I'm going to do a masterclass just for members of the clubhouse, where we'll look at the content that's available, what's working, what's not working, how to get the best of it. Because I know there's a lot there, but some of you have told me that it's not always easy to access. And I'm going to use some of James Clear's approach in Atomic Habits on how to create the kind of routine where you can make the time for that and your well-being. So the next masterclass will be on the 15th of September, for those of you that are not in the Wellbeing Clubhouse. But I'll send out a notification around that. So in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself, anything you'd like to share, praise, we know Brooke likes that. Comments, insights, commitments. Brooke, any final words?
No, just thank you very much. Thanks for listening. You know, and even if you only you take away one small thing, it might be the difference that makes the difference. And that's where we start always. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Brooke. Thank you, Celine.
Thanks, Philip.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
That was great. Thanks very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Wendy.
Thank you both.
Cheers.
Celine, can you sign him up again?
Are you sure about that? I mean, it's a bit of a pain to work with, you know.
Yeah, I bet. But can you sign him up again, please? For his, I can't remember the word that you used when talking about the hill. Metaphor.
Yeah, the metaphor work. Yeah.
Maybe we have a conversation around that.
Yeah.
Right.
So that would be awesome. I hope you all have a lovely evening. Thank you very much.
Michael, thanks.
Michael.
Bye.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Fab. Thank you.
Thank you, Celine. Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you. Cheers.
Pleasure. Goodbye.
Bye.